how will we meet these goals? So in the C, the way that we get productive work done is through purpose-driven working groups. And I think the thing that makes these working groups work is that they have very explicit short-term goals. So when you choose to participate, whether it's leading or participating on a working group, you know there's a clear definition of done. So by participating, you might be on a 3, maybe 6-month effort, but it will end. It's not an ongoing forever thing. And so the goals of those working groups are also, you can see explicitly how those goals tie to the overall alliance's goals. So this model has been very successful for the C over the past several years. We're so grateful, again, can't say it enough, to everybody that participated in 2020. So in preparation for this meeting, the 2021 Virtual Summit Steering Committee reached out to the community as a whole, and we got an initial list of working groups to start with. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to walk through the proposed list of 2021 working groups. So as we go through these, start to think about working groups that you might be interested in leading or participating in. Okay, is this visible to everybody?
Beautiful, thank you.
Yes, and so, just for, if people would like to follow along, there is a link in the Zoom chat right now that you can click on to open the document that Julia is currently sharing. And in case you'd like to follow along there, or Julia will be sharing her screen as well. So.
Oh, I'm at the top of the, I was the wrong end of the list, sorry. Okay, so the first one that there is an executive team, and the purpose of the executive team is just to keep the C energized and moving forward. This working group is different than all the other working groups because it's a standing committee. So it is a bigger commitment if you want to participate on this group. For instance, last year we met 47 out of 52 weeks. So we have a weekly 1-hour meeting, and we met 47 times. So I think we gave up Christmas and Thanksgiving and maybe a couple other holidays. But if you're interested in participating in this working group or team, you'll have the opportunity later. Next working group, David, I hope you got my email, but just if you could just give us a 30-second talk about the website working group.
Sure. Yes, and so basically, we as well have met weekly with some exceptions, and so the primary objective last year, of course, was to get the website up and running, which turned out to be harder than one might think. But going forward, what's exciting about working in this working group is that this is really an opportunity for anyone to say, look, I'm interested in being able to do this or learn about that or access this, and I can't do that today through the website. Ideally, you'll participate, but even if you don't and simply say, hey, I looked through the website, I wasn't able to do what I expected with regards to X, Y, and Z. Could you do something about that? And of course, that would be great to get that comment. It'd even be better to say, hey, I'd like to work with you and actually shape that future so that it not only meets your needs, but those needs of people in the same category. So this to me is going forward is going to be even more fun than in 2020, because we already have something to work with that's online and functional, and this is where we really get the chance to really take it to a higher level, as opposed to something that's good, but could still add a lot more things. And I'm absolutely convinced, and I'll close with this, that every single one of you on this call would readily find something that they would like to see added, but is not currently there. And to the extent that you're interested in making that available to others, please consider providing feedback or joining.
Okay, thank you, David. Alan, should we take questions as we go, or should we wait till the end?
I would suggest if you have a question, send it in the chat,
Okay.
and I will call it, and I will periodically stop and pick the question. So please send questions to the chat, or comments, or even accolades. Next.
Okay, so next is our membership working group. So Brad, you want to talk a little bit about that?
You bet. Just like David talked about the website. Well, this group is one of the users of the website. There's stuff that we want to put out there. There's stuff that we want to capture out there. In the world of communication, everything's in our advantage of the membership for us to reach out and be able to make people aware of what we have to offer, all the lessons learned that we have to share with them, and how if they come in to be a member, they can get access to talking to all the rest of the members of the C. And so one of the things we're doing now is, this has been really a minor role at first until that website's now come up. And so this is a cycle, this 3 months or so that Julie's talking about. This is a chance to really pick out some topics here to make sure that we can reach out and make the best impact we can to make people aware of us, to get information about that, to organize the membership, like you see the different categories of participation. But we can make this is the networking part, and this is to capture the membership information so that people can get the most out of the C. And so this is really going to kickstart the membership group's going to really get going now that the website's up. So looking forward to this.
Okay, no questions there. Marcia, you want to tell us about certification? You're muted.
Sorry, I had to mute myself because I have a very elderly cat, and I didn't want this to become a typical Zoom meeting where somebody's pet photo bombs. So he was yowling a minute ago. At any rate, I would be very happy to discuss the certification working group. This is going to be a new working group, since we now have the ability to administer a certification as with our newly found status as an LLC. So what we would like to do is create, the primary goal is to create a plan to transition the certification program that the SEI had administered for the PSP certified developers and the TSP certified coaches and assistant coaches. We'd like to be able to, first of all, find a way to allow people who have a current certification to maintain those certifications through a renewal process. Then once we've got that under control, we'd like to expand it so that we can once again offer new individuals certification. And depending on how things pan out with the renewals, there may need to be something sort of in between where we recertify individuals whose certifications, through no fault of their own, lapsed simply because the SEI was not maintaining the program. So, there's kind of a three-stage problem that we need to attack. So what we'd like to do is get a plan together for going forward, and also to discuss things about forming an oversight body, which is kind of a requirement for maintaining a certification program. That would be a group of qualified individuals who can determine what standards should be for certification, and coming up with the parameters for ensuring that people who apply for the certification meet those parameters. And we'd also like to use the certification as a way of, again, giving ourselves a forward-facing presence in the community by offering this special certification that can be used on a resume or with a potential employer as a proof of excellence in practice.
And we could also promote them on the website, correct? Like,
Exactly.
a list of, okay.
Yes, exactly.
Any questions for certification? Marsha, I think like this is way out, but we could also move towards accreditation at some point as well, I would think.
Yes, at some point in time, although having been on the committee that did that for the SEI, it is an onerous process and there are costs involved. So that might be definitely way down the line since we currently don't have any monetary capability.
Right. Okay, any questions for Marsha on certification? I'm going to let you read that one, Alan, and then figure out who should answer it. Thank you, Jim McHale. Next is Jeff Schwab talking about networking and social media.
So my view here, and we're certainly open to expansion by joining up, but I've always thought that the original personal and team process community that a lot of this came from, before that capability maturity models, but looking forward, there's this big, huge world out there. And a lot of folks refer to it as agile when in fact they're thinking of many different methods, including the team and personal processes, Scrum and others. And I think for this kind of group to go forward and not just survive, but to expand and help improve other things, we've got to get integrated up and into those larger communities and share our ideas, listen to their ideas, and help everybody work together better. So to me, it's networking in terms of reaching out to groups and people, becoming part of other communities and getting those connections in place and maintained. Any questions, thoughts, ideas on that, folks?
Hi, Jeff. There is a
Hi,
question.
Alan.
There is a question in the chat. I'll read it to you. General question to the group, i.e. Jeff. Where would outreach fit? I see that as a theme that cuts across many of these areas, but I'm wondering if there's a value in providing a focus. For example, reaching out to our colleagues in the Agile community, many of them who are very frustrated by poor Agile implementations they have seen, lived, and experienced, like Jim McHale has for the previous 15 months. Jim, did I read your question adequately?
I love your embellishments.
Thank you. There was a couple. I'm not a good actor. I never follow the script. So,
no, the good actors don't follow it slavishly unless you're doing Shakespeare. Come on.
That's true. Okay.
All right, Mikhail, you're on my team.
That was the answer. Beautiful. Okay, good answer, Jeff. Let's move on.
Yeah, I always forget to take one step back when they ask for volunteers.
Yep, Jim, and you were my first love.
Devlin has a question.
Yes, kind of a question and a comment. I was sort of curious. I know we and my branch had been going for CMMI accreditations previously, but recently the accreditation model has changed heavily to start to include Agile. So I was just curious if there were plans to sort of try and align with that and follow the same suit so that people can still be Agile, use PSP, TSP, and get accreditations. They could get the whole suite.
Absolutely. I think that's a good reason or part of the motivation behind why we want to do that networking up and out, connect these things and answer those kinds of questions and figure out lots of other questions and answer those too.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
I mean, really, CMMI, Agile, TSP, they're all based on a set of principles. It's the implementations that typically are bad. That's the most kind word I came up with. Good implementations solve all those. And that's what this Excellence Alliance is all about.
Understood. Yeah. In lieu of that, we have sort of gone back to the principles where we work, is that we're essentially going with the best practices rather than trying to get the accreditation.
Yes. And you should join one of our meetings sometime, Evelyn, at NavAir. We can talk more deeply about that. So,
understood.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I actually think that, one area that we have more consciously been trying to couple better with the agile community and with, modern development environments is next generation tooling. So David, you want to talk about this working group?
Certainly. So we all know that that tool support is an important part of high maturity practices. And as we move forward and we reach out to larger audiences in the Agile community and across the industry in non-software teams, it's going to be important for us to make sure that we can bring and make available the tool support that those individuals and teams are going to need in order to be successful. If, for example, if we wanted to be incrementally introducing high maturity concepts to an Agile team, we have to meet them where they are and make it possible for for them to use those high maturity practices, within the environment and the tools that they're accustomed to. So the next gen tooling is about pursuing those sorts of goals. We're taking a look at making sure that we understand the most important critical needs to our community and to the Agile community in terms of unmet tool support needs, and finding ways that we can help meet those needs through identifying sponsors and putting together prototypes or MVPs, and finally usable tools that can support not just our teams, but all of you as you reach out to people within your organization that might be new to high maturity practices.
David, thank you. And people, make sure you use your reaction button on Zoom periodically. Let people know you're out there. Next one.
Okay, next is Highmaturity Solutions from Brad Hodgins.
Okay, so I have I see that there's these examples of possible activities that this working group might do, and all of them have TSP in them. So I'm going to talk to why this Highmaturity Solutions is here. For the last 2 years, there's been a working group working on taking TSP and breaking it apart to figure out if parts of it can make the world turn faster. And the reason for that is because a lot of pushbacks happened when people think, well, you either have to do TSP, all of it, or don't do any of it. So it's an all or nothing. And in NavAir, we have incredible amount of experience with saying, no, you can get the baby and not throw it out with the bathwater. And you have to deal with the customer. Customers have limitations. So we're trying to do for the last year and a half has been to break apart TSP into what makes TSP work, or what are all the pieces that contribute to the success of TSP. And then having those, now we've gotten really good insight into the different pieces. How do we then take the pieces that are most valuable to certain potential customers or certain groups that are suffering? We were focusing this last year on Scrum teams. And so we were looking to say what parts of TSP could be proposed or given or made available to a Scrum team to make them a better Scrum team. And so this is the kind of stuff that we could be, this working group could be taking on, is pick one of these as examples, just pick one of these standalone solutions that were identified and get the pieces in place and do it. Try to give it to a team that's not doing TSP and say, hey, taste this. Also, there's some other aspects, taking the solution and putting it in more modern terms. So getting it to put on close correct for the period, so people don't see it and pshaw it because it's not using the Twitter words or the whatever the topic is of the day. And then another one is to try to get past this the conceptions that, or the perception that people have of, I'm doing Agile, TSP doesn't apply. It can't apply. It's completely anathema. So we need to address those issues, and that's almost like a branding thing, is getting the word out, getting the information out there so that people know that TSP, parts of TSP are definitely complementary to a lot of methodologies. And so this is kind of some of the things that this group can take on. Again, any of these pieces is just examples.
Any questions for Brad on Highmaturity Solutions? Content creation, Gerardo.
So the thinking behind this group is that we still need to invent a lot of stuff. We have advanced a lot in the industry, but there are a lot of stuff that haven't been invented. And we need to achieve the kind of engineering that Mauricio was talking about. We need to develop a lot of engineering to a lot of specific stuff. And it's not there. It's not enough to manage the process. The management of the process is very important. But for example, how this small stuff has to be done, what are the engineering thought that should be there? What are the standard, the methodology? We need to do a lot of stuff. Well, having that as a base, we wanted to invite anyone who has an idea or a dream to do something, to get better. And we want to create a community from industry and academy of people that are willing to take the risk to innovate the way we do some stuff. And with that community, we want to consolidate that community of people and organizations willing to learn, to innovate, and to share, of expecting the other to share with us. What we want is to create a better community capable of doing better stuff. This industry is very powerful. There is work for anyone that want to be in this industry. We don't need to have develop something specific for us to compete. We can share to get better. And we need to be open to a wide range of different possibilities. And when we started, I realized that colleagues from Tec de Monterrey and colleagues from Universidad de Monterrey are very different than me, but they had wonderful ideas of how to do something. It was very hard because of the pandemic to get together, to work together, but we each other were working a lot trying to move ahead in the own initiative. This year, the next year, we would like to put a lot of effort to really get together, to try to find some synergy, and having this group together to invite anyone who want to be part and to do something in the same direction. These projects are not short-term projects. It's a long-term project. But they are wonderful. Okay.
Okay. Any questions for Gerardo? Okay. The next working group is working group training. And this is a very short-term working group to produce probably around 1 hour of training for C working group participants. So we have a pretty elaborate infrastructure in place for the working groups. And there's a lot of standard Google Docs and the Google Drive, and there's Google Groups, Google emails, so that all your conversations are logged. And so this is just to develop some training so that our working group participants can be more effective. And I think it's very powerful training because it not only applies to C working groups, but you can build this own infrastructure yourself for any working group, any distributed group of people that, whether you might be doing nonprofit work or something else. So this would be a very short-term focus group to develop some training. And then the last one is the 2022 Program Committee. Hopefully we'll be able to meet in person next year. We want to go beyond just a planning meeting. We want to go to where we actually are more of like a symposium type event, in-person event. So if you are interested in that working group, that's something that probably won't start till much later in 2021. So we want to thank everybody because we had a lot of people provide input to this list. So if you have any suggestions for additional working group or any ideas, always feel free to reach out to the executive team.